YouTube! Welcome to day 12 of my birthday countdown vlog. 28 more days until I turn 40. So let's see, talking about when I was 28, which was the year 2000. And let's see, the first thing that happened to me that year was finally getting a full-time job offer at the company I was working for. I'd been working there since about October of '97 at that point, so just a little over 2.5 years, or maybe just a little less than 2.5 years. And I'd been a contractor or temp through a company called Staffmark. Actually, they were called Telemark at the time, but I think they're back to Staffmark now. And so I'd been there for about that long, and finally my manager offered me a full-time position. Which was great. I really wanted that because there were some new rules coming around in terms of contractors, and after so long you had to kind of take a 6-month leave and all this jazz. So I was really happy to get a full-time position. And at the time, full-time work, full-time permanent positions were still more secure than contractors. Contractors were usually the first to go during mergers and layoffs and that kind of thing. So I was extremely thrilled to finally be a permanent member of that company. And that was a great thing. Other thing that happened to me that year, I was in the middle of a big rebound relationship. I'd been dating this guy for about a year at this point. And we both kind of looked at each other one day and said, are you ready to break up? Yeah, I'm ready to break up. We were each other's rebound, actually, which is interesting, and I'll talk more about the big relationship that ended for me the year before. And he was in England, and I was here in Colorado, and we met through a chat room. And he had just been dumped or broken up with his ex-girlfriend about 6 months before. And when he and I started dating, I had just ended a really big relationship, perhaps a month or two before he and I started getting romantic with each other. But like I said, it was long distance. He was in England, I was here in the US. And so nothing really obviously could happen other than just talking back and forth online until, let's see, he came, I'm trying to think if he came to visit once or twice. I honestly don't remember anymore. But I do know that at the end of '99, I did go out and visit him in England, and then in 2000, he came to visit me here in the US, and we spent time, he was actually out here for a long time, and he spent like a week with me here in Colorado, and then the two of us went to Chicago, so that because I was planning a Chicago trip anyway, and he just came with me. And so he got to meet my aunt and uncle and see where I grew up. And we were both starting to think about breaking up during that trip, although we didn't really want to say it. I was waiting until the end of the trip because I didn't want to have it be awkward, like, oh yeah, let's break up, and then he's staying at my place for another week, and that would have been really awkward. So I decided to wait until the day before he left to go home to say anything. And oddly enough, he was doing exactly the same thing. So that was it. That was sort of an interesting thing there. But the trip was still, the visit with him was still fun, and it was fun to have a guest and have someone visit and to show him around and cook dinner for and that kind of thing. Although we would fight because he sort of thought of himself as a really good chef. He actually was pretty good at cooking, but we would have some fundamental disagreements as to how to prepare certain dishes. And I finally said, fine, you cook. So yeah, that was also interesting. And then at the end of that year, end of 2000, that's when I started having some medical issues, and ultimately needed to have that surgery that I was recuperating from earlier, in the early part of the next year. And it was really crazy because I found out about my medical condition around October of 2000, but I ultimately didn't get surgery until just before Christmas because I had a big business trip planned. Hi, Huey. I had a big business trip planned in the first half of December, and it was just the timing of the project and everything. I just really didn't feel like I could postpone it, so I postponed the surgery instead. The surgery also scared the living bejesus out of me because there was a possibility of cancer with what was going on with me, and we wouldn't know until after the surgery, and they had a chance to do a biopsy and things, which they weren't going to do ahead of time. They just were like, we're going to remove this and we're going to biopsy it, and if it was cancer, because they were going to do like an instant biopsy on the spot during the surgery, and if it was cancer, then there was other things that would be happening during the surgery, and they would extend the surgery. So they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know what it was until they opened me up and did it, and it was just scary, 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 scary. And I didn't really have a lot of friends in Colorado at this point. All the friends that I had made previously were all the wives and girlfriends of my ex's friends, and so the only people I really knew were the folks I worked with, and I do consider a lot of them friends, but at the time I hadn't been working with them that long, and so it was kind of, it was really kind of awkward. I had our admin, she actually picked me up in the morning and drove me to the hospital for the surgery. And then, actually the worst thing, the absolute worst thing about the surgery was waking up in the recovery room and having the technician or whoever it was ask me, you know, if my husband, if they could get my husband from the waiting room, and I'm like, there is no husband. Your boyfriend. There is no boyfriend. You know, I mean, he kept asking me. He asked me 5 or 6 different times, and I finally got really angry at him and said, I don't have a husband or a boyfriend. So stop asking me. I mean, he thought maybe the anesthesia I'd forgotten, but it's like, no, I didn't forget. Stop reminding me that I'm alone. So that was really, for me, the worst part of the whole experience. And one of the other things that happened, the hospital basement, I think it was either a power outage or a flood or some weird thing happened, and the kitchen got shut down. And so here I am in recovery. I actually somehow got lucky enough to get a private room, and there was no food. Finally, they started coming around with brown bag sandwiches that someone ran out and started getting brown bag sandwiches delivered from some local deli or something. And so finally I got a sandwich to eat, but they didn't bring me any water to drink. And I kept buzzing the nurses, and I think they had the nurses come by 3 or 4 different times, like, you know, could I get some water? And for 3 hours I had no water to drink, and here I am, I mean, I'm on the morphine drip, dying of pain, but I was also parched and thirsty, and a big part of the recovery was that they wouldn't be able to take me off the IV until I had a chance to go use the restroom. And, well, I wasn't drinking any water. The only fluids I was getting was from the IV, and obviously the IV fluids weren't quite enough. I needed more than that. And so finally they brought me a big pitcher of water and some hot tea and some beef broth or something. And I finally downed all of those, and it still took another hour or so before I needed to go use the restroom. But that was not fun either. So there was all that going on, and one other colleague of mine from where I was working took pity on me, because I actually got out on Christmas Eve from the hospital, and my uncle was going to come and take care of me for a while, but wasn't going to be able to make it until a day or two after Christmas. So my friend actually had her fiance pick me up, and I was able to spend Christmas with their family on Christmas Day, which was really nice. I mean, here I am, you know, just 2 days out of surgery, and I was dressed like a little old lady, and I was walking around like a little old lady because I was in so much pain. But it was nice to be surrounded by people and have people to talk to, and have someone else cook some food for me and that kind of thing. So that was ultimately, that was really nice and very sweet, and I really appreciated that. And that was basically how I spent the year 2000. Alright, until tomorrow. Bye.